French newspapers now. Florence with us as ever, and a lot of French papers focusing on this news that car maker Renault, of course we've heard already about Peugeot Citroën, now it's Renault in trouble and going to cut jobs.
That's right, 7,500 jobs to be exact. Les Echos, the business paper, says that Renault is tightening the bolt on employment in France. And on the front page you can see all sorts of graphs there that show just how much it's been in decline for the last couple of years. So as you were saying, this comes on the heels of PSA, Peugeot Citroën, that announced last 6 months ago that it was cutting 8,000 jobs. Aujourd'hui en France talks about the meltdown of France's automobile industry. And inside they interview an economist named Eddy Cohen, who says that French car makers, what really the problem is that they missed the boat on globalization. And today they're paying the price of 10 years of bad policies. First of all, France is not as competitive as it was 10 years ago, especially with respect to car makers in Germany, the US, and China, who are all doing quite well despite the crisis. On top of this, production costs are too high in France, and especially French car makers didn't bet enough on emerging markets.
And left-leaning Libération, they're quite pessimistic, aren't they, about the future, really?
That's right. They say the warning signals are blinking with respect to cars that are made in France. Now, they say this might be perhaps the most serious crisis that the French auto industry has ever been in. And Libération says the main problem is outsourcing. Both Citroën and PSA, both Renault and PSA Citroën do this too much, according to Libération, and hopes that any kind of production in France will bounce back or slim. Unfortunately, Libération says more jobs are likely to be cut, so it's a pretty bleak outlook for Libération.
Now, the situation in Mali also getting a lot of attention in the French press today. Libération taking a bit of a closer look at François Hollande's defence committee, aren't they?
That's right. They're calling it France's war room. This defence council is made up of 12 men, including François Hollande, the Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault, Defence Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius, and the head of the Army and the Secret Service. Libération describes this meeting, and it says that ever since Friday, they've been meeting just about every day, except for yesterday, in what Libération calls a very elegant green room on the first floor of the Élysée Palace. Now, this is where all the strategic decisions are made. Libération says that there's a table with this huge map of Mali and the whole region that's on this table. Sounds like an old school game of Risk to me, but this is where all the various options are discussed. President François Hollande is the one that makes the final call, and so that's what you can read in Libération today. A lot of other papers are focusing on the fact that a lot of French people are afraid that there could be a terrorist attack here in France. For instance, on the cover of 20 Minutes, they have a poll that says that 71% of French people are afraid that there could be an attack on French soil.
Now, Le Figaro, they're focusing on an extremely bizarre story coming out of the UK from England. It's emerged that senior royals have a secretive power of veto over new laws.
That's right. This is a little-known power that these most senior royals have to consent or to block new laws. Now, Le Figaro has an article about this. It says that details of this have emerged after Downing Street lost a battle to keep this information secret. So this information is out now. It turns out that overall at least 39 bills have been subject to this veto. Now, this includes matter of higher education, child care, etc., but also matters of military action in Iraq and the civil partnership. So the royal family is riding a wave of popularity right now. They could do anything. It seems unlikely that this is going to damage their image because they're so popular right now, especially with this royal baby on the way. But anti-royalists in England say they are outraged.
Okay, excellent. Now, this last story, it's not going to help me because I've already had all my children in the UK, but France apparently is a champion in Europe, a champion of fertility.
That's right, despite the crisis and a general mood that you guys could qualify as morose. Aujourd'hui en France says there's something to be optimistic about, and that's that France is still making a lot of babies. Now, this comes as the INSEE, so the Statistics Bureau here in France, released the European fertility rates yesterday, and France is on top. 2.1 babies per woman. Now, this has a lot to do with policies in France that encourage women to have babies, all the while encouraging them to work as well. And according to Aujourd'hui en France, this is very good for the economy. because all these little French babies will one day turn into consumers, and especially they'll be able to pay for everyone else's retirement.
Yeah.
So welcome, little French babies.
Good for nappy companies as well.
Yes, good for nappy companies. So yeah, maybe they'll be paying for my retirement one day. We'll have
Yeah,
to
I'm
see.
sure they probably will. Excellent stuff. All right, thank you very much, Florence Villeneuve, with the press review here on Chronox. We can't make cars, but we can make babies, apparently.